18-year-old Zion Brown was the only
That's my cousin, you know. They killed my little brother.
My car got shot up.
Your car got shot and your girl was in the car, right?
Yeah.
Shooting death of a Jacksonville rapper known as Julio Foolio.
Family members of Foolio are caught in the crossfire years of messy rivalry between Julio Foolio and fellow Jacksonville rapper Yugen Ace led to a street war between two of Jacksonville's most notorious gangs, Kill 'Em All and Ace's top killers. Things got bloody at this point, with both sides claiming casualties in a Cold War. It all began with the 2017 murder of Julio Foolio's 18-year-old cousin, Zion Brown. The events leading up to the tragic shooting began around 1:30 a.m. at a home on North Rawhide Trail. Inside the home, Zion Brown was spending time with his younger relatives, which included a 16-year-old girl, a 9-year-old girl, and 3 other children, ages 6, 9, and 17. Zion Brown's brutal killing was a textbook gang-style assassination that occurred on a quiet Saturday night on Jacksonville's west side. A brick crashed through the sliding glass door at the back of the house, violently upsetting the scene. The 16-year-old girl, stunned, dialed 911 in the hopes of receiving a prompt response from the police. But before they could get there, the gunman, identified as 19-year-old Deanter, entering the kitchen through the broken glass door, Thomas proceeded into the living room where the victims were assembled. Zion Brown and the 2 females were hit by Thomas, an Orange Park High School student, who opened fire. When the police came, the harm had already been done. Zion Brown, the only adult present, had been hit several times and had collapsed to the ground amid the chaos and sound of gunfire reverberating throughout the home. The 2 girls and Zion Brown were both seriously hurt, and the officers moved fast to secure the area and call for emergency help. As paramedics got there, they started tending to the victims. Despite the medical staff's best efforts, Zion Brown passed away from his wounds after being taken to the hospital. The 2 girls, meanwhile, managed to survive the incident despite their injuries. The 16-year-old girl, whose identity was withheld for safety concerns, described the incident to news reporters after having a bullet extracted from her foot, but one that was still lodged in her ankle. "Jax, it's terrifying and not a scenario anyone should be in. Seeing all that blood is distressing, and you're unsure of what to do, so you panic." The adolescent added that Brown was able to identify Thomas as the gunman because he placed lay according to the arrest warrant. Deanter Thomas was identified as the shooter after the investigation was completed promptly. The 16-year-old girl, who had sustained injuries, informed the police that she was aware of Thomas as they were Facebook friends and that he was a friend's boyfriend. After being detained approximately 24 hours later in the vicinity of Butler Boulevard and BFFR Road, Thomas was accused of killing Zion Brown and of 2 charges of attempted murder due to the injuries he had caused to the 2 girls. Meanwhile, Thomas's criminal history began in 2015, when he was only a minor. At that time, he was charged with 6 counts of burglary, one of which included stealing a gun. He entered a guilty plea and was sentenced to juvenile imprisonment. Following this initial run-in with the law, Thomas developed a pattern of illegal behavior that began in 2016. In February 2017, Thomas was arrested once more, this time for felony narcotics possession. After discovering that Deanter Thomas was a member of Young Ace's ATK gang, following Brown's death, Thomas continued down a path of crime that led to the tragic events on North Rawhide Trail. This naturally sparked a series of revenge attacks, which culminated in another personal loss for Julio Foolio. But this time it was even closer to home, as it was his little brother who was senselessly murdered. The story starts on a tragic day on February 25, 2019, when Gaynor, who was 16 at the time, was shot and killed in the Hilltop Village apartments, where he was living. The community was left in shock and mourning as word of his vicious murder spread like wildfire. Gaynor's life was tragically cut short. That day, the Hilltop Village apartments, which are often a hive of activity, became a terrifying and chaotic place. The ferocity of the attack was clear as witnesses saw Gaynor's lifeless body lying on the ground after hearing many gunshots resound throughout the complex. Gaynor had sustained multiple gunshot wounds. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office promptly began an investigation into Gaynor's murder, with the goal of apprehending the perpetrator. Detectives searched the crime scene, gathering evidence, and speaking with witnesses. Although the investigators' initial leads were few, the outpouring of grief and the community's desire for justice strengthened their resolve. Local rapper Hakeem Robinson, better known by his stage name SUU, was later taken into custody for the murder of Gaynor. Robinson was well known to law enforcement due to his violent past and suspected gang affiliations. His reputation as a dangerous person made him an easy suspect in the Gaynor murder. The case made significant progress when surveillance footage from the Hilltop Village apartments was examined. The grainy footage showed a person who closely resembled Robinson at the crime scene, and when combined with witness accounts, it painted a clear picture of Robinson's involvement in the murder, as stated in the arrest warrant. Investigators discovered that Gaynor and the other individual were in the gazebo when there was gunfire, which caused them to break up and take cover. According to a witness, Gaynor was hit by gunfire and fell on the ground while attempting to shield himself by covering his head with his hands. The warrant stated that Robinson approached Bobby and shot him in the back of the head or neck at close range, while Bobby was still attempting to defend himself. It also stated that Robinson had posted multiple images and videos online after Gay's death, in which he was seen boasting about Bobby's murder. Detectives also closely examined Robinson's social media activity and rap lyrics in an effort to find any possible links to the crime. Akeem Robinson was arrested and charged with Adrian Gaynor Jr.'s murder on March 10, 2019. Although Robinson's music frequently promoted violence and gang life, there were suspicions that his lyrics might contain clues about his illegal activities. Although the lyrics were insufficient to convict Robinson, they did add to the mounting body of evidence against him. The gang known as TK had a long-standing feud with another gang known as KTA, and Gaynor's murder was thought to be the result of this ongoing rivalry. Although Robinson's arrest was a significant milestone in the investigation, it was only the beginning of a long and complex legal battle as Robinson awaited trial. This revealed that Robinson had ties to a local gang known for its violent activities. The investigation became even more complex as detectives worked to unravel the web of violence and retribution that had ensnared Robinson. Unsurprisingly, Gaynor's entire story led back to the developing conflict between the two most well-known characters in Jacksonville's drill rap scene, Youngin and Foolio. Like his kin, Foolio, Ace had also been the victim of multiple attempts on his life, including the one that ultimately proved fatal. In a candid interview with DJ Academic's Off the Record podcast, Foolio talked about the terrifying night when his life was almost taken. "I walk out of the studio. I'm walking into my car anytime I walk anywhere. I got my gun in my hand, walking wherever in Jacksonville. That's just how you got to be," he said. Julio Foolio was known for his relentless diss tracks and ongoing feud with Young and Ace. Despite this, one of the most notable assassination attempts on Julio Foolio occurred in 2021. Foolio had just got into his car, which was parked at the 2000 block of Ernest Street in Riverside. FIO explained that as he got closer to his car, the Cayenne took a deadly turn. "As soon as I get to sit down a little bit, get to blowing pop, 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 pop," he said. "I just see two shootings. I knew where the shots were coming from, so I leaned back and turned to face the gunman. Desperate to survive, FIO turned to face the gunman again, shot my entire clip, and then dropped the clip at the scene. I felt like I shot one of them." He claimed that the assailants left the scene, so Foolio hurried back to the studio, his heart racing with fear and adrenaline. Believing he had been set up, Foolio stormed back into the studio and confronted his friend, who vehemently denied the accusations and even showed Foolio his messages as evidence of his innocence. In the interview, Foolio also disclosed that he had 3 guns on him at the time of the shooting, 2 on his person, and 1 in the trunk of his car. This tiny arsenal highlighted the ongoing threat he faced in Jacksonville's dangerous streets and the necessity for him to arm himself. However, this would not be the rapper's first time speaking about the assassination attempt. Just a few hours following the shooting, Foolio posted a video on social media where he mocks his shooters viciously and displays the little injuries he received. "Though they must have assumed I was deficient," Julio said, "I didn't get hit, I just got grazed in the leg." He went on, "I shot back in self-defense because my gun is registered." Foolio did the same thing after being shot in Houston, Texas, in July of the previous year. The Texas shooting was more serious and left Foolio hospitalized. It was from his hospital bed that Foolio shared a live video,